Today, I'm going to run through our subcontractor quote analysis skill inside of ContractorOS. And the purpose of this skill is essentially you've sent away a number of requests for quotes to some subcontractors, let's say 3 of them, and they've come back and given you their pricing as well as their letter of offer or their proposal or whatever you want to call it is all in there. And you want to essentially normalize it so you can compare the quotes like for like, basically. This skill transforms those 3 quotes or however many quotes you receive back from your subcontractor and puts them into an Excel spreadsheet where you can compare them like for like. So all we're going to do for this is start with the prompt saying to use the subcontractor quote analysis skill to compare these quotes. And then we need to upload those 3 quotes as well as the request for quote we sent out initially. This is the minimum amount of context we need to be able to get a answer to normalize these quotes based on what we sent out. Obviously, the better version of this is to have a project folder already set up with inside Claude, and then you can upload the quotes to that, and it would have much more context on what the contract is, the drawings, the spec, and everything like that. But for this demo, we're just going to use it with the RFQ and then the 3 quotes that we've received. So we'll go ahead and hit enter now, and it will start the process. It's already pulled up the subcontractor quote analysis skill of working through those steps that we've given it. And it's got a template in there of how we want those outputs presented so that we can easily understand them and know what we're actually signing up for there. Cool, so now it's completed its analysis on this, and it had all the data from the RFQ and the bid packages received. It's given us essentially a ranking for its like-for-like comparison. So you can see here that the Spark and Wire one came out on top with Coastal Electronics second and Metro Electronics third, and a bit of a spiel on why that is. And then it's going to give us the foundations of this analysis in the Excel sheet here that I'll quickly run through now. And this is essentially taking those 3 quotes and normalizing it. And you can see here on the tender analysis page that we've got like our original quoted total and a summary on what that actually means in terms of the adjusted totals, the scope coverage that they had, and the risk ratings with some of their items that were inside of that. And then it further goes on to go the key findings for different ones and their how critical they are, and go from there. So in terms of a price matrix that has the 3 different subcontractors and what their prices were for each item, and obviously where the ones were excluded were, and it's used that to create a scope inclusion and exclusion. You can see here that the Metro Electrical had a bunch of stuff missing, and then the commercial terms as well. Here's a summary table of everything that was inside of their bid package or tender package, depending on where you are, and you can go through to check that out. And then this step 5 is where it's given us a summary of the normalized spend essentially on each of them. And you can see here that it's got the adjusted totals for a like-for-like comparison. And then finally, we have the weighted scoring that it's used to come up with which one is best. And obviously you would review all of these, but this is just giving you it in a nice format that you can review it easily and cross-check any information that you're not quite sure on. And you can go through and see here that these Spark, I've got their names now, Spark Electrical has come out on top with a 4.55, and the Metro one was obviously very high risk, and that's come out very low. And then the Coastal fared pretty well as well, and that ties back to the executive summary page where it's given us the rank on that. So that's a very quick way to analyze 3 different tenders from 3 different subcontractors. Obviously, you'd be checking each of these individually to make sure that the information there is correct and that it's correctly adjusted them. Plus, there's going to be things in the background like who you've worked with before and who the people you know within there. Obviously, construction is a relationship-based game, but this gives you a nice, clear snapshot to see exactly where everything is at, as well as review that information in terms of like commercial terms really quickly and easily and be able to compare them very well. Because like we say a lot, it's transforming data from one form to another, which each of these is inside the documents that were submitted. It's just purely putting them together in a format that we can easily check them side by side and see where they're actually sitting. So that's a subcontractor quote comparison or analysis. And yeah, I hope that was useful.